What if we can positively impact society by reshaping the mindsets of young men? And while we're at it, let me ask you, what does it mean to be a man? My name is Dennis Meralda, a father, a teacher, a coach, a mentor, and a principal with over 2 decades of experience shaping the minds and characters of young men across the United States. If these questions resonate, if you're a young man looking to improve your life or a parent looking for tools to help your son become the best version of himself, the Building Men Podcast was created for you. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Building Men Podcast, or welcome back if you've been here before. We are now in Chapter 2 of Building Men. I took a little bit of a break after Anthony passed. Those of you who've been following along with the podcast know my brother Anthony passed away at the end of September of 2024. Need a little bit of a break after that, and I'm getting back into Chapter 2, and in Chapter 2, basically focusing more on giving advice to young men in high school and early college years or post-high school years, to their parents of those boys or anyone who works with young men in that capacity. So the guest that I have on today, I've known him, I don't know, Brock, how many years? 7, 8, 9 years, something like
Quite a
that.
few, yeah.
Yeah, quite a few years. And to give a little bit of a background, so I coached a lot of sports, especially for my son Danny as he was growing up. One sport that I absolutely loved to coach more than any other was basketball. And so my son Danny was a year older than Brock, but Brock was an absolute stud on the basketball court. He always played up, usually played up old, like you were playing older kids than how old you were, right, Brock, during that time.
Yeah.
He was always the number one draft pick in the league. And so I followed along with him, and also just a really good human being. A good person, would always come up to you, shake your hand, how are you, sir, that kind of thing, which always stood out to me about Brock. But Brock's undergone some really difficult times over the last 6, 7 years, so much so that like there were times that I was hearing about him, I'm like, I can't believe he's going through this again. And then I can't believe he's going through this again. So over the course of 4 years, Brock had 4 knee surgeries. He tore his ACL when he was in 7th grade, so around 12 years old, Brock.
Around there, yeah.
In 8th grade, you tore the other ACL.
Mm,
When you were a freshman, you had a surgery to clean up some scar tissue in your knee.
mm.
And then when you were a junior, you tore which ACL? The one that you tore the first time or the
Uh,
second time?
the second time, so I tore my left one the 2 most recent times.
So right, left,
Mm.
ACL tears, and you're an athlete going through high school. And so when I would hear about Brock, I'm like, man, I need to get this guy on the podcast just to talk to him about his journey and everything he's gone through over the last several years. So first of all, Brock, you've been an inspiration to me, definitely to my kids. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate you coming onto the podcast, man.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on.
You got it, man. So I'm going to start with this question, Brock. So you tore your ACL 3 separate times in high school.
Mm.
Take us back to the moment when you realized that your athletic journey might not be what you thought. There was probably a time when you were growing up, you're like, I'm going to play in the NBA or in the NFL or something like that. But then all of a sudden, these different, horrific injuries that you've gone through. When did you realize that it might not be what you thought it was going to be?
I think it was really after the third one. I think after the first two, I was young enough where I was able to recover pretty well, back to almost normal. I think there's always going to be, you're never going to be quite the same, but enough where I could still play football competitively at a high level. I think it was after that third one that I realized like the recovery just wasn't the same. And there were just a lot more challenges along the way, a lot more hardships. It just was taking a lot longer to get to the points that I wanted to be at compared to last one. I kept comparing
Mm.
that third recovery to the first and was like, I'm 2 months behind where I was the first time. And I think it was after that, and I just kept getting pain and just kept a lot of doctor follow-ups where they were just I was having a lot of issues. And I think that was the point that I really realized that I might have to hang up football, hang up all the contact sports
Yeah.
that I like to play.
And it was after that many surgeries, you're going back and forth to the orthopedic surgeon. So much so they
Mm.
probably had a parking spot for your family because they're like, oh, Brock's coming in again. He's coming in again.
Yeah, it was the
And
same doctor. They knew me by name in there. It was bad.
of course, right? And the first two, you were playing basketball. You were going up for a layup.
Mm.
I was at the game when you tore your lefty ACL the first time when you were in 7th grade. I believe you had like a breakaway. You were going up for a layup, and I think at that time, as a 7th grader, you were right about ready to dunk, if I'm not mistaken. Like you were.
Yeah, I was pretty
Yep.
close.
And as a 7th grader, so 12-year-old, imagine that. And I was also at the last one when you tore your right ACL the second time.
Hmm.
My son was a senior in high school. He was the starting quarterback of the football team, and you played defensive end for that team. And I remember watching you laying on the turf, and I couldn't even imagine what was going through your head at that time because you had just gone through an ACL tear recovery, seventh grade, eighth grade, some surgery, ninth grade, and you're like, all right, I'm ready to go. And then it happens again. And just I could feel the emotion that was happening, not only with you, but your family, the rest of your teammates. So what was the thing that you were thinking in that moment as you were laying on the turf and realized like, oh man, here it is again?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of more shock than anything. It wasn't really the pain. It actually didn't hurt as much as the first two did. So I thought I was fine, to be honest. I went out of the game for a drive. I sat, saw the trainer, and then I put the brace back on, had it taped up, and I was ready to go. I wanted to try to play. I was like, in the back of my head, I kind of knew I tore it, but
Hmm.
I was like, let me give it all I can one more time because I kind of knew I was done after that. So I was like, I went back in, and then it was actually I was playing linebacker, and they threw the ball, and I went to try to pick it, had it, came down with it, and my knee gave out for a second time. And I was like, yeah, I can't. Anytime I tried to cut, it was just kept tweaking. So I had to just come out after that.
And
So yeah.
the multiple injuries, right? A lot of athletes would have quit at that point. Even after the second one, everything that's going on with the rehab, they might have been like, you know what, I'm done here. But you didn't quit. What was the thing that kept you going, even though your knees and your body were really betraying you?
I think I just always like loved the competitive nature of sports. I don't know if I'd be in college right now if I didn't have a sport. Like just always structured my life so well. Um, like just not playing sports or being on the bench or not starting, like it always just drove me to try to train harder, push harder. I think that helped me with my recoveries. And maybe it's a little egotistical in a way, but I just hated not being the best
Mm.
at what I was doing. So that just kind of helped me drive my recoveries, want me to get back as quick as I could.
And I love that about you. And there's also this piece of our identity, right? Like how we see ourselves. And I'm
Yeah.
sure for you, you just always saw yourself as an athlete. And once that is taken away, I've interviewed a lot of people that were really at the top of their sport. It could be basketball, football, baseball. And there was this injury that happened, and it was tough for them to look at themselves in the mirror because ever since they were a little boy, they identified with, I'm a basketball player, I'm a football player,
Hmm.
I'm an athlete. Did you go through that same kind of thing?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I've been playing sports ever since I could remember. I started out playing soccer, baseball, basketball, and then in middle school I really got into basketball. So I kind of identified with that. Then more so football as I got older, and I just kind of always saw myself as an athlete, and that's what I wanted to do. And I couldn't really see a time where it would be ending.
Mm. So then, as that's going on, how did you stop yourself from really spiraling mentally? Because it could be a total, uh, reset of everything that you think about yourself, about the world, everything.
Yeah,
So how did you stop yourself from spiraling?
that's a good question. I'm not sure. I guess I had a lot of people around me that, like my parents, kind of I don't know if they really thought I could or not, but always just told me I could get back
Mm,
into it and told me that I'd be fine. You just got to recover and get through it. I had a lot of friends I trained with. So we kept training together. Even though in the back of our heads, we kind of knew I was done, but they kept at it with me, kept going to practice. I think that really helped me mentally, um, to kind of just believe in
mm.
myself that I could get back to it.
And there are times in our life, Brock, and I'm sure you do this for other people. You might not even realize that you're doing it. People watching you in your journey. Sometimes there are people that we need to carry the belief for them until they're able
Hmm.
to carry that belief in themselves. So now take us back you go through this experience your junior year, and I remember hearing from people that I knew that were coaches on other teams. They're like, who's this like DN linebacker hybrid kid? He's a stud. Like, so you were getting some hype as far as not only that year in sports, but even beyond into playing collegiate football potentially,
Yeah.
and having to reset at that moment. So you made the decision at that point to start over in a completely different sport, which was track and field, which takes a ton of courage, a ton of confidence. So how did you muster that up when you decided, okay, I can't do football, I can't do basketball anymore. I'm going to try something different. Where did that come from?
I always kind of found interest in track. I thought it was an interesting sport. It's kind of one of those things where like you have it or you don't, and it's very individual, which I always loved team sports, but I loved
Mm.
individual sports because it's kind of what you put in, you get out kind of thing. And I was brainstorming with my parents. I wanted to play sport. I didn't know what to do. I was going into my senior year of high school, and I had a little bit of a background in throwing. I did my junior year. So I just kind of, it started off as just doing it for fun in the pastime while I recovered, did stuff without spinning. And then as it progressed, I ended up getting pretty good at it pretty quick. And I just wanted to see how far I could take it in a year. And it was almost another challenge for myself to work towards and help me recover even more because I knew I was done playing football and without having anything to want to recover and get back to, it kind of hindered my progress a little bit. And I was a little lazy on my PT, the recovery. So I think having that to work toward and give me a new goal, that really helped in the long run.
Definitely. And first, you had to become a beginner again at something, right? You're
Hmm.
playing basketball for a long time, you're playing football for a long time in your life. You weren't a beginner, you knew what you were doing, but now when you're throwing, you had to, you have to go in and humble yourself and say, you know what, I don't know as much. I haven't done this. This is something brand new to me. So how did it feel to have to start over and be a novice at something?
Yeah, it was kind of scary. I saw people my same age throwing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with numbers, but they were throwing like 200 plus, all American, the same, like all a lot of good throwers in New Jersey. So I'm gonna compare to them and like I'm just on YouTube teaching myself and they have all coaches. So there it kind of sucked. But I mean I like the challenge. I always like just kind of seeing the progress as you go every day. You look at the videos, you see yourself slowly getting better, doing one thing right. So I always like that. Again, like if you show up, you'll get better as long as you're practicing.
There's a lot of science, Brock, around having seeing what the finish line is or having the goal where it's
Hmm.
an actual visual thing. And they've done some studies where they've had people in a race where they would say, okay,
Hmm.
what you need to do is run as fast as you can right now. And one group, they had them, there was just, they just told you to run and we'll tell you when to stop. And the other group, they told you to run and they could actually see the finish line, see where they were going to go. And the group that could actually see the finish line, they ran 20% faster. And to
Really?
me, that's fascinating in that for you, it wasn't like a finish line. It was like my finish line is being able to compete in a new sport. So,
Yeah.
my theory is that that had a lot to do with it. And if you didn't have being able to throw as a part of your finish line, I'm not quite sure that you would have had the same level of success on that third recovery.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I would have either. I don't think I wouldn't have had any motivation to recover, put in the work. So yeah, throwing definitely helped. And I had that same goal of wanting to play a sport in college. So I think that also put some fuel on the fire. And I knew throwing could be an avenue to get there.
And so you picked up first throwing discus, correct?
Hmm.
And I remember going to my youngest, her name is Sophia. She was in middle school at the time, and she was playing field hockey on the middle school, field hockey field. And I remember in the distance, it seemed like it was about a quarter mile away. I just saw some kid throwing a disc, and I'm like, I walked a little bit closer. I'm like, there's no way that that could be Brock. He just had another ACL tear last year, and lo and behold, it was you. And you were just by yourself, and you were there for over an hour, just throwing a couple, and then walking 180 feet and picking them up, and coming back and throwing them again. And that was the moment I was like, there's something special about this kid. And so not only did you throw disc, you competed in a couple different things during your senior year.
Shot put as well. Yeah.
And it went from that where pretty much you're a novice at the sport going into your senior year, and you now start gaining some interest from some collegiate teams, and not just collegiate teams,
Mhm.
some Division 1 teams, and not only Division 1, like ACC teams such as University of Virginia, where you currently
Yeah.
are, and you're there as a Division 1 athlete, and you're throwing three different things at Virginia.
Yeah, discus, shot put, and hammer, but I'm mainly discus and hammer right now. And hammer is, I'm not sure if you're familiar. It's like it's on the wire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And I remember I would just see it in the Olympics. That's not a high school. That's not one of the high school things they do. Correct, Hammer. It enters in
it's
college.
banned in most states. There's like three states it's not banned, so it's mostly a college thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
just because it's dangerous.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have gotten unfortunately killed by it.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
So you're picking up and you picked up two new things as a senior, and then another thing as you're entering your freshman year. So take us
Mhm.
back from the transition from starting throwing in your end of your junior year into your senior year. Talk to us a little bit about what lessons did you learn from your ACL recoveries that helped you succeed at a as a thrower at the collegiate level, both physically and then also mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I think the recovery was just kind of clocking in another day and getting better really translated to my throwing. Just because even going in high school, I mean, college and still now, I'm still a novice thrower. Like all my teammates have been throwing since they were in elementary school. Um, so I know that kind of have to work twice as hard to catch up with them. So I mean, after the second and third ACL, I had to do the same thing to recover. So I think that really translated well in my throwing career.
So then talk to us a little bit about the habits that you created. What habits did you pick up during your rehab that you feel directly translated into your success in college?
I think I just developed a lot more discipline after the recoveries. I had a few coaches when I was growing up that kind of instilled discipline in me. I had an AAU coach, Coach Pat. He really instilled a lot of discipline in me. I think that helped me during my recoveries. He would always reach out to me, ask how I was doing, and our family. I was close friends with his son. So I think just bringing that same discipline into college, I think that really helped. Some habits that I mean, in high school, I always try to wake up early around
Mhm.
4 or 5 a.m. And I think that really helped um, just get better, honestly, get more time in the day to work on things.
What about a
Um,
kid right now who's struggling with self-discipline? Is that innate or is that something that you can learn with practice?
I think it's something you can learn. I mean, you're only as good as what you want to sacrifice. So if you want to sacrifice the sleep, if you want to sacrifice the time, the junk food, I mean, the other people are doing it and you're not. So you'd have to be able to sacrifice it.
Absolutely. Love that, Brock. And thinking about your first, so you've been at the University of Delaware, excuse me, University of Virginia for my son's at the University of Delaware
Mhm.
for a year and a half now. You're in your sophomore year.
Mhm.
In that period of time, what has been the biggest difference between high school athletics and competing at a Division One program?
It's a huge difference. I mean, the training, the eating, like the practice itself, the coaches are like, I mean, they're a lot harder on you. It's kind of, you have to perform or you're cut kind of thing. It's not like, oh, everybody gets a spot.
Mm. So
Like
you've
if
probably
you're not
seen.
competing up to par, you're gone.
Absolutely, and it's definitely more
What
of
was that?
a it's more of like a business approach. I'm sure it's like you gotta show up every single day. You got to do what you got to do, and there's
Yeah.
not as much margin for error there. So you probably have seen some athletes in high school and in college that lasted and that made it, and they're continuing with what they're doing, and those that are not. Um,
Mhm.
so what separates the athlete from the athletes that lasted and those who didn't?
I think there's two things. One was definitely their habits. Are you going to eat right? Are you going to meal prep? You going to get up early, get your homework done? Because a lot of college athletics, a lot of it is academics too, especially at a school like University of Virginia, where they care highly about your
Mm,
GPA and how you're doing in class. So I think getting those things done outside of the field and practices, that really helps because that can allow you to put your 100% focus while you're practicing, while you're lifting, and not stress about other things. I think the other thing was just I've seen some people that got cut and didn't really take the right path. I
mm.
think it was more so the people that they surrounded themselves with, and they were just really bad influences, kind of partying, not really caring about track, that they got to college and then they were done. Like that was their goal. And they didn't really have any goal set after that. I think not having a goal after going D1 and getting the track, like they didn't want to win ACCs or go be an All-American. And I think like they just didn't really care anymore.
It was like getting the opportunity to throw on a college level was the goal rather than that's a part of the journey that's going to lead you to further success.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a stop on my goal. I mean, of course, I want to kind of score at ACCs, go to nationals. So just being able to have the opportunity to throw at the collegiate level was just a stop on the way.
So how has college like challenged you off the field as well in the classroom, socially, emotionally? How has it challenged you, and have there been any additional habits or mindsets that have helped you adjust? socially, emotionally, academically?
Yeah, socially, it was hard at first, just because you don't know anybody. It's hard having to make friends. Like in a small town, like Bordentown, you kind of know everybody
Yeah.
since elementary school, and you don't have to make friends. So it's going out there, meeting new people again, doing clubs, things outside of meeting people outside the team because you see them every day. So that kind of becomes your friend group. But I personally I try to meet new people, try to hang with people I don't see every day. So that was hard. And I think the classes themselves are 100 times harder
Mm.
than high school. I don't think high school prepares you for college at all. I don't remember sitting in my room studying for a test one time in high school, but now I'm at the library 2 times a day,
Yeah.
hours at night. And it's just a whole different ballpark that I don't think people realize the transition.
My son has said the same exact thing that once he started in college, it was he had to relearn how to learn.
Yeah.
He figured out a certain way to handle high school. He got really good grades. He played sports while he was there. But once he started in college, he was like, "Whoa, this is not what I'm used to
Mm.
here." So if you can go back and you could change something that's going on in high school that would have better prepared you for your experience in college, what would you change about high school to make it like an easier transition?
I would say definitely challenge myself more academically. Like I had pretty good grades in high school, but I was never like striving to get over like a 4.0, striving to take all APs. I think doing something like that would have definitely prepared me more. Because I was just kind of getting by, get the A, be done
Mhm.
kind of thing. And I think just definitely learning better study habits and better ways of learning would have made freshman year of college a lot easier.
So what if then you, and I appreciate that answer too. I agree, and I think a lot of young men in high school do the same thing. Like they get
Hmm.
what they need to get. They'll do the bare minimum of their ability. But what if you can go back and you can make a recommendation to the Board of Education or to the high school administration and say, listen, I know what it's like going from being a good student, a good athlete to going to my freshman year and pretty much getting my ass kicked. Like
Hmm.
what would you suggest that they do differently to make the school different to help kids on the transition?
I think we do a lot more self-learning in college, teaching ourselves. And I think in high school, everything's kind of given to you. You
Mm.
just have to fill in the blanks. And I think if we had to do more independent learning in high school, that would definitely help us. I'm not sure exactly how they can implement that, but
I hear you though. It's like less spoon feeding.
yeah,
One thing that I think is, as teachers, as parents, what we want to do is it's like almost like a paradox, right? You want
hmm,
to set your kids up for success, so then as adults they don't need you, right? And you
yeah,
always want your kids to want to hang around with you. Like for me, I love, my kids want to be around me, but I don't want them to need me as adults to do things for them. I want to set them up
yeah,
for success, and the only way they can do that is they have to learn how to struggle. You have to learn how to do the tough thing without having the safety blanket. You want to be able to do those things. And for you, I think what separated you was you went through a lot of adversity and challenges as a young man before. I mean, you were probably still in the middle of puberty as you're going through ACL surgeries. It was, to have to go through that at such a young age. There was also for you a little bit of, I've been through hard things and I know who I am and I know that I can do this. A lot of people going through their high school years don't have that same level of challenge. So the first time they're faced with adversity, Brock, they're like, I don't know if I could do this. Where you were a
hmm,
you were a seasoned veteran in dealing with adversity throughout your time. So I understand what you're saying about, in high school, you wish you were just like a little bit more um, to raise your bar a little bit instead of just doing, the bare minimum. Is there anything
yeah.
that you wish you would have done differently, either socially or athletically? Is there anything that if you can go back and relive high school a little bit, uh, is there another thing that you might do a little bit differently?
Um, Probably just be friends with more
Mm.
people, kind of not stick to my more niche, smaller group. Um, do more clubs, go more after school stuff. I feel like towards the end of high school, I was just sticking around the same few people, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but I definitely wanted to be more friendly with the other people that I didn't really get to talk to. I didn't really know their names, didn't really hear anything about them. So I kind of regret partly
Mm.
some of that.
It's interesting. One of the things that I have a conversation with my daughter Jules, who's a senior in high school right now, right?
Hmm.
One of the things that I suggested to her is when she goes into high school, I'm like, try things that are going to scare you a little bit. Try some
Yeah.
new things, try some things that are going to stretch a little bit, even if it feels a little bit awkward, because the more you do that, the wider your circle is, right? And I also want to just call back and appreciate the fact that you talk about there was a group of athletes that you can see they started to go down a little bit of the wrong path. And I'll
Hmm.
tell young men all the time, like, you want to see how you're perceived is take a look at the five people you surround yourselves most
Hmm.
closely with. And if you're with a group of people that are not going to class, that are, partying every single night, they're getting horrible grades, like you're part of that group. So
Hmm.
if you find yourself in that group, like think about it, is that how you want to see yourself or other people to see you? And if it's not, find yourself a new circle to get into. And the other thing I'll tell people as well is if you're the best in your room, like in the space you're hanging out with, get into a room where you're a novice. Get into a room where other people are better
Hmm.
than you because they'll draw you up. They'll raise you to their level as well. And so that's what you did on the track and field, right? In track and field, like you went in as a novice, and all of a sudden you're throwing at this like a level where you're getting state and national recognition. So with all the setbacks that you've gone through, Brock, what advice would you give to a high school athlete who's dealing with injuries, who's dealing with setbacks, who's dealing with the fear of falling behind or failing? What advice would you give?
I would just kind of tell them, I mean, everybody finds their journey at their own pace. I mean, some people are going to have setbacks. You're going to have to train twice as hard. Some people are going to be just naturally gifted and go D1 and don't ever have to practice or weight lift or anything. So I think it's just kind of finding your own, like what you're good at, what you want to do. I mean, it took me 5 different sports to find throwing. So it's really just, you just got to keep going, keep trying. I don't think there's really one set answer to that question.
Mm. And I see you at the gym. We go to the same gym. So when you're home for break, I see you there. And the last time I saw you at the gym, I came home and I was talking to my son. I'm like, Denny, Brock is jacked. Like you put on a ton of muscle since the last time I saw you, even. And I'm watching you doing like cleans with all this weight on the bar. I'm like, damn, like you're throwing around some big weight, which for me it was really cool to watch.
Yeah.
And it just before that, I get to the last couple of questions, Brock. I just wanted to acknowledge like how much watching you has helped. Um, Not only me, I mean, you definitely inspired me, but those around you, those who know what you've gone through, you've definitely been an inspiration. So I just wanted to acknowledge all that hard work and resiliency and effort, and to recognize like what I'm doing with building men. It's about character, it's about leadership, it's about resilience, and you embody all of those things. So how have adversity and having to basically reinvent yourself shape the man that you're becoming today, not just the athlete, but the man who is Brock Schenck?
Think it's made me a lot more mature quickly, a lot more emotionally mature. I had to deal with a lot more things. Like I was pretty depressed after the surgeries and
Mm.
having to deal with that on my own and finding ways out of that. I think it made me a lot more empathetic to other people and about what they're going through, not necessarily injuries, just emotionally, physically. Kind of made me view everything a little bit differently. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think it just made me a more disciplined man.
And with that idea of discipline and resilience, that those really important characters that you spoke by, but you also said you had a level of like some dark thoughts, right? Some depressive thoughts after it's over and over and over again. And I just want to also recognize your courage to talk about that as well. A lot of young men, especially when they're dealing with something difficult, I'm fine, I got it, no big deal, it's all right. To be able to say, like, hey, I was in a dark spot, I really struggled mentally. It takes a lot of courage to do so. And I know there's a lot of young men right now that are dealing with difficult things, that are dealing with adversity and struggles. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be like, yo, this is really, really hard right now. And just recognize that you're not the only one. But know that with the habits, the dedication, the resilience, like you can get yourself back into a good spot. So you mentioned there were some people along your journey. You had a couple coaches. You had, your parents definitely helped you along your way. What was the biggest piece of advice that you got when you were going through all the shit that you were when you were going through all the surgeries and the rehab?
I think the biggest piece of advice was something a coach told me. It was just told me that what I'm not changing is that what I'm choosing. And
Mm,
he really meant that if you like if you're choosing to sit on the couch, choosing to not do your PT, choosing not recovery, you're not changing anything. And I think that really stuck with me to this day. And this was years ago. And I think that kind of just I transfer that to different aspects of my life. Like if I'm choosing not to study, then I'm not changing
Hmm.
anything. And I think that really helped me. I had other people, like I had some close friends that would go to the gym with me in the morning, keep me motivated. Um, they would always just seeing them want to work out with me and like ask to work out with me. That really like inspired me a lot, and kept me motivated in that way too.
It's powerful. What you're not changing, you're choosing.
Mhm.
I like that a lot. I might even throw that in as a part of this episode title. So last question, Brock, and before I say this again, thank you, man. I've had the desire to want to talk to you on the podcast for quite some time now. I remember talking to you, I think it was still your senior year before you were even going to UVA. I was like, I want to
Yeah,
interview you, man. I really want to talk to you about it. So I'm really happy we had this opportunity today. And for some reason, I believe that, if this is not your first interview on a podcast, there's more to come, because I just your story is so it's so endearing, and it's just awesome to hear everything you're going through and how you present yourself in such a positive way. So last question for me, Brock, is if someone's listening to this podcast right now, they've already got a ton of value from this conversation. Just, hearing everything you've gone through and all the struggles and difficulties and how you were able to overcome those challenges. And someone's listening and they stop the podcast episode right now. And there's only one thing that they can do. And by doing this one thing, it could really change the trajectory of their life. What's one thing they could do right now?
Hmm. I think that they could shift their mindset a little bit, the same way I have, and stop thinking about like what if I didn't get hurt? What if this didn't happen? And think about it more so if even if I got hurt, how am I going to bounce back? And even if this happened, what am I going to do to counteract it? I think that shift in mindset will could take anybody a
Mhm.
long way, because that's taken me.
Love that. And life is not about what happens to us, it's how we deal with the things that happen to us. And as you know, it's a roller coaster, right? There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, and the more that you can tell yourself in the high times, like, hey, I want to appreciate this and be grateful for it, but I know this is not where I'm going to spend all my time. And in the low times, when this is horrible, this is going to suck, recognize it's not going to be forever. And if you can keep
Yeah.
more of a mental aspect, hey, I know this is going to get better, you're more likely to get to that spot as well. So while I understand you don't have like a Brock Schenck website, a lot of the people that I'm talking to, they're promoting something. But if somebody wants to follow along with you, if they want to reach out, is there any way that someone can get in touch with you, especially either a young man or someone who's working with the young man who's struggling with a pretty significant injury? How can people reach out to you, Brock?
My Instagram is just Brock Shank. Give him That's probably the main way to reach out. I always look at my DMs. That's all I really have on social media.
All
So,
right. So what we'll do is we'll put all that information in the show notes, like how you might be able to reach out to Brock to follow along with you and your journey, Brock.
mhm.
Really, really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. For those of you listening to the Building Men podcast, remember we started a charity in Anthony's honor. It's called Stay in the Fight. The website is stayinthefight.am. And basically, what we're doing is we're raising funds to support people that are struggling with their mental health and don't have the resources or insurance to be able to get the therapy they need. So you'll hear more about that in upcoming episodes as well. So take a look at that. Also support our other sponsors: Finish the Race Apparel, FTR Apparel, and the other one is big Become Stronger Industries, the makers of handmade steel maces, some hammers, and other badass equipment. Thanks again for listening to the Building Men podcast. Brock Schenck, thank you again, my man.
Thank you for
For the
having me
audience,
on.
oh, you got it, my man. Go one step further than you thought you could go. We'll see you next time on Building Men. Our young men are struggling. We see a lack of positive male role models. And in school, we're dealing with truancy, we're dealing with failing grades, behavioral issues, we're dealing with isolation, aggression. Students post high school, we're dealing with an alarming suicide rate, we're dealing with poverty, we're dealing with incarceration. As a society, we recognize we have a problem. We've tried everything with limited to no success at all. So what's the answer? It's a foundational mentoring program. It's Building Men.
They really do like show you a better way and a better path. Doing the right things when people aren't even looking shows a lot. and it shows who you are as a person.
Building Men means a lot to me because it's somewhere where I can go and open up and talk about things that I don't talk to other people about. It taught me that like talking is something, it's natural, it's something you're supposed to do, talking about your feelings.
Also giving me the guidance that not a lot of other kids have gotten, and it's also showed me how to become more of a leader since now I'm representing something, now I'm in a group.
Building Men means to me is the steps in order for a boy to become a man. They have to go through adversity, hardships, challenges, everything in order to become a man.
I love how when I go there, I'm held accountable. If I say I want to start doing something one meeting, I either have to have it done or show them that I'm taking steps by the next meeting. It's a great program. A lot of kids should do more stuff like this because a lot of, especially boys and men don't have nobody they can talk to or they feel they can talk to. So having a closed, safe space feels great.
It impacted my mindset a lot. It helped me focus on my schoolwork more. It helped me communicate more to other people.
You know, he tells us real stories about his life, and that kind of touched me as a person because the same stuff that he's going through, I'm going through. And you know, I was going through a difficult time, and we were both going through a difficult time. So him speaking out about it made me realize it's okay to speak out about my struggles as well.
A place where you could be your authentic self and feel like you won't be judged for it. A place that we've created a culture, an edifying culture for our young boys to level up and mature as young boys in this world.
I got to meet the founder, Dennis, and you know, he just seemed like a down-to-earth, cool person. He seemed like he knew us. He seemed like he knew what we were going through without us telling him what we were going through.
They have become a small community in itself that probably would never have happened if it wasn't for this program.
If it wasn't for the Building Men program, I feel like I would not be at the level that I'm at right now in my life.
Building Men has definitely changed my life. It has made me a better person, a better friend, a better son, a better counselor, a better mentor.
Overall, it's just been a great experience, and I look forward to it growing to bigger and better things.
That I feel this interconnected with like the staff, not only the male staff, but like everyone, and the kids. I'm able to feel much more connected than I ever thought I would be as an intern.